Are you a grad student or professional who feels like they have so much to do and not enough time to do it in? Are you finding it somewhat challenging to take care of yourself and others while undertaking the demands of your academic and/or professional life? Like many of you, I can relate to having navigated those types of feelings before, and actually a number of people in my Instagram and YouTube community have been asking me, what do you do to take care of yourself as you're navigating your PhD program? So if you'd like to learn how I use time management to promote my health and well-being while undertaking my life as a PhD candidate, then keep on watching. My hope is that my ideas might be helpful to you in some way, shape, or form, and I'd also really like to hear your ideas in the comment section below. The first thing that I want everyone to know is that it can take some time to figure out a time management and prioritization strategy that works for you. There can be some trial and error involved, and that's perfectly normal. Over time, I have identified 5 wellness-related strategies that, if I incorporate them into my day, really help me to meet my potential on a daily basis. These include having a morning routine, which I'm going to tell you about more in an upcoming section of this video, cooking and eating healthy meals, working in short spurts followed by breaks, taking an opportunity to connect with at least one family member or friend per day, and to just ensure that I have some wind down time before bedtime. When I don't do these things, I find I really notice, and for that reason, I try to treat them as must-haves when managing my time. So because I do these things daily, I've developed a strong sense of how long these wellness activities take me. Knowing this, I regularly do the math. So what I do is I total up the number of hours required to complete my wellness-related activities. I then subtract that from my number of waking hours to figure out how much time I will have left to undertake my PhD and all of my other responsibilities on a given day. So I know this sounds really simple. In reality, the math can be a lot more complicated, especially if you have kids, elder care, and other responsibilities of a less predictable nature. It's still a valuable exercise though. Really what this exercise is about is increasing our awareness of the amount of time that we actually have to allocate, and doing so in a way that aligns with our values as much as possible. Doing this math also helps me understand what I need to do in order to be able to enjoy my preferred wellness-related activities throughout the week. It also helps me realize what I won't be able to do if I want to allocate time towards the activities that support my wellness. It also provides motivation to stay on track with my studies and research, because I know that if I do that, I'm gonna have that time to spend on the activities that I look forward to doing every week. So what does this look like in real life? Well, let me tell you about the core components of the activities that I tend to do that support my wellness. So let's start with a time breakdown of my morning routine, which was inspired by Hal Elrod's book, The Miracle Morning. I'll put a link to the book in the video description. My routine typically consists of an hour of exercise, 10 minutes of guided meditation using the Calm app, 10 minutes of writing down and saying out loud some personal affirmations, doing about 10 minutes of a visualization practice, followed by reading a chapter of a professional development book, which takes around 20 minutes, and 15 to 20 minutes of journaling. So the total morning routine takes me about 2 hours when you include the exercise. I also have to budget an hour to shower and get ready after that workout. I also find that eating home-cooked food really helps over eating takeout food, so I budget time for this as well. Breakfast tends to take me around half an hour. I usually eat cereal, nothing too complicated. Lunch, I'll set aside half an hour or an hour depending on how much preparation is involved. Same thing for dinner. If there's preparation involved, maximum an hour and a half. If not, maybe only half an hour. If I need to get groceries for any meals, then I have to budget that time as well. I also try to allocate at least half an hour per day to connect with a family member or friend. I try to treat this as a study break. It helps to, maintain those relationships, but also just to reduce the isolation that can happen during the candidacy phase of a PhD. I also try to set aside half an hour to an hour for wind down time at the end of the day. I find that this really helps me to have a good sleep and to be rejuvenated the following day. Some of the things I'll do during wind down time is I will read, children's fiction seems to be a thing of late. I will also do maybe some arts and crafts type activities, you know, decorate my planner, that type of thing. So now for the fun part, how I budget my time. So this typically starts on a Sunday evening, and the first thing I do is I start to run the math. So I know that I'm the type of person who needs 8 to 9 hours of sleep per night to feel optimal the following morning. And so this tends to take place between 10:30 p.m. and 7:30 a.m. every single day. So a sample day where I went to bed at 10:30 p.m. and woke up at 7:30 a.m. would leave me with 15 waking hours to work with. So from that 15, I have to take away 2 hours for my morning routine, half an hour for breakfast, an hour for lunch if I have to cook it, an hour and a half for dinner, again if I have to cook it, a half an hour to connect with a friend or family member, and half an hour to an hour for my wind down time in the evening. So in this case, I would need to subtract 6.5 wellness dedicated hours away from the original 15 waking hours to arrive at 8.5 hours that I can then allocate towards my dissertation and other responsibilities. So the next thing is to subtract any hours already allocated to presentations, meetings, other things that I really need to be at. I will say as a PhD candidate that I am being very thoughtful these days to keep these commitments to a manageable volume. So once these important commitments are accounted for, I will know what time I have available to me for everything else. So for the purposes of this example, let's say that I know that I have a 2-hour thesis group meeting that day. I would have to take those 2 hours away from the 8.5 hours that I know I have available to me, which would leave me with 6.5 hours to direct towards my other priorities. So my scholarly and professional priorities can be boiled down into 5 things at this time. The first thing being my dissertation, the second thing being publishing, the third thing being preparing to take my next steps career-wise, the fourth thing being engaging in public scholarship, and the last but not least thing being engaging in non-traditional teaching via my YouTube and Instagram. Every day I determine which of these priorities I will focus on, and then I allocate my time amongst the priorities. So just using my notes here to help, here's an example of one of my recent allocations. I allocated 3 hours to my dissertation, 1 hour to my publication related projects, 1.5 hours to things related to taking my next steps career-wise, and 1 hour to teaching via YouTube and Instagram, which I'm doing right now. I really want to mention that these numbers include short breaks which I use to rejuvenate. I might go for a walk, I might check in with a friend, I might go pick up a coffee, those types of things. What about time for hobbies? What about spending extended time with family and friends? That definitely makes it into my schedule too. And I sort of will take more of a weekly or monthly approach to scheduling in those types of things. I found that engaging in daily and weekly analyses of how I plan to spend my time really actually empowers me to feel comfortable and confident when I make that choice to spend time with my family and friends for extended periods. So a few more things I want you to know as you consider what I am doing. The first thing is that I just want to be super open to say at the moment I do not have children. I'm not currently partnered, although I do have some other family related responsibilities. And so if you're in a situation where there are some elements of your commitments that can be quite unpredictable, you'll absolutely need to take that into consideration while you're trying out this type of approach. For example, kids, not the most predictable folks all the time, but that's okay and needs to be embraced. It's also important to know that I don't hold myself to doing this math every single day. It's important to have days where you kind of just feel like the moment flows from moment to moment and that you're not sort of analyzing everything in great detail. So this practice tends to be something I apply more to my weekdays as opposed to my weekends. Does this approach to time management and prioritization work? Well, it does for me. Does it go perfectly every single time the way I planned it? No. And that's okay. The point is that I'm much more aware of the time that I have, how I plan to use it, and I'm further incentivized, to try and follow this plan because I know that doing so is going to support my wellness and ultimately it's going to make me feel happier. So where do I complete this math and how do I allocate my time? Using my favorite passion planner. I love the weekly layout because it gives you half-hour increments to work with. Mapping out my plan in here really helps to give me a visual sort of understanding of the realities of what my week is going to look like. I also love that the planner is designed to help you really focus in on your biggest, most important goals to you, and just really make sure that you're allocating your time in ways that align with that, plus providing you with opportunities to reflect along the way. If you'd like your own passion planner and would like to support this channel in the process, check out the link in the video description. It will provide you with the opportunity to receive an additional 10% off your first planner. Thank you so much to everyone who has been watching, supporting my new channel. It means so much to me. I love that people are also reaching out to me and letting me know that the videos are helpful, so that's amazing. I also love that this YouTube channel and my Instagram are helping me to meet all kinds of cool people who are interested in the same things I'm interested in and live around the world, and I might not have otherwise met them. So if you'd like to keep in touch between now and my next video, feel free to give me a follow on Instagram. My handle is @PhD Essentials. In the meantime, wishing each of you a beautiful and productive week. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.